This gives new meaning to the term tax to death. Word Hillary Clinton is proposing an even steeper hike in the estate tax than she has already. Forget 45%. She wants to take it all the way up to 65%. True, that 65% rate will ensnare only those worth more than $500 million. I'm sure startling news to her billionaire backers nonetheless. But she's already reduced the amount of what she calls rich estates. It's $5.45 million now. She wants to take that so-called threshold down to $3.5 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. Relax, this is just rich folks. Wrong. This is just the start. If history is any guide, what constitutes wealthy keeps going down, and the tax on that wealth, well, that keeps going up. Right now, the estate tax is 40% on estates worth more than $5.45 million. Then, inspired by Bernie Sanders, Ms. Clinton proposed hiking it to 45%, again on estates worth $3.5 million, then 50% on estates worth more than $10 million, and 55% to those worth more than $50 million. So you see where this is going. Now, again, I know what you're thinking. Even that lowest threshold of $3.5 million seems like a lot of money. But remember, this thing is not indexed to inflation. It won't seem like so much money many years from now. So a lot can change, including what is considered a lot. Remember when a $100,000 house seemed like a lot? Or a couple in that house making $100,000 seemed like a lot? Or $1 a gallon gas seemed like a lot? It didn't take a lot of years for a lot to change, except government's insatiable appetite for more. Don't believe me, believe history. When Congress readopted the income tax in 1916, it slapped a 1% tax on incomes above $3,000 and a 6% surtax on incomes over $500,000. Just 2 years later, the top rate soared to 77% under the guise of financing World War I. It stayed that way, though, long after World War I and the next World War and lots of wars after that. Yet with each bump up, each surtax added on, we were told it would be temporary. It wasn't. Just like it wasn't in Europe, where they cooked up something called a value-added tax, originally meant to replace the income tax. What started out as a roughly 5% surcharge on some purchases a few decades ago is now 20% or more on pretty much all purchases today. And that income tax it was replacing, alive and well, and more than triple what it was when this whole value-added tax started. Some value, but man, oh man, some tax. Hillary Clinton's tax plan alone is now $550 billion over the next 10 years. Write it down. But I suggest you do it in pencil because it keeps changing. Here's one thing that does not: government spending. It keeps going up, as does the mad scramble to pay for it. Wouldn't it be great if politicians were half as creative, coming up with ways to save money than get money, to live on less than simply tax us more? And don't you find it rich? They always say it's the rich, and it's always about them paying their fair share, because the definition of rich keeps changing, and so does fair share. Take it to the bank. No, actually, in this case, take it to the grave. Good night.